Welcome to day one of the Advent Stitch Along. I hope you are excited to be starting with us today. Today is going to be a relatively easy day as we'll only be stitching the 2 sheep on our left tail here. For the majority of our design, we'll be using 6 strands and our size 22 Chanel needle. So continue using that until I tell you otherwise. If you're struggling to tell your needles apart, our size 22 needle is the one with the larger eye. Let me show you. So here you can see our size 5 needle is on the left. It has the smaller needle hole, both shorter and not as thick. And then the one on the right is a longer needle eye and a little bit thicker. So we're going to be using this needle here on the right, our size 22 Chanel needle. Now to start, we're going to pull 1 arm length of 433. So that's this dark brown right here. And when I say an arm length, I literally mean the length of your arm. You're going to start at this number end here and pull your strand right here and just pull all the way till your arm is stretched out. Next, we need to tie off the bottom end of our thread. And then we're ready to thread our needle. So we have our thread and needle ready, and it is time to start stitching the heads of our sheep first. Let me grab my favorite tool, my hoop stand. This hoop stand does exactly what it sounds like. It's going to hold my hoop. Now, I have caused many to fall in love with this hoop stand, and so I'm sure many of you are going to use it, but I want to give you a little bit of a cautionary advice about it. I notice when using this blue fabric, for some reason, the clamp, if it goes too far onto the fabric, will leave this white mark for some reason. So when attaching it to your hoop stand, you need to try and attach it only to this wooden part right here. I know that makes it a little more harder, but I have learned from stitching this many times and trying to figure out what in the world was causing those white marks on my fabric. I had learned it was this. So as you can see here, it is just hanging on there by the edge. So we have our hoop now on our hoop stand, we have our thread and our needle, and we are ready to finally start stitching. So as I said, we're going to start with the head of the sheep, and this is going to use a satin stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to start kind of here at the tip of the head, and we're going to go diagonally. So I'm going to make my first stitch. Pull that through, and I'm going to go down right here, kind of at where a nose or mouth would be for our poor little sheep. Now when you pull through, if that satin stitch gets a little twisted, just use your needle and kind of rock it back and forth and pull it back down. All right, now we need to go to the left of this first stitch that we made. And if you need to pull, there's going to be that knot in the back. If you need to use your finger to kind of push out of the way, you can do that. And now we're going to go into this same hole that we just made. Instead of going straight down, we're going to share this hole right here. Okay, we're going to do that one more time on the left side. And this time we're going to tuck that stitch. This is a method I like to use that's called straight share tuck. So I'm tucking it kind of right behind these previous stitches we made. And the reason we want to do that is we don't want the sheep's head to be a rectangle. We want it to have a little more dimension. Okay, now we're going to come over to the right side and do the same thing. We probably won't do the whole right side. We probably will have run out of room. But this is one of those stitches that if you feel like the head is maybe too small or too rectangular and not rounded, then you can add a few more stitches to help round out that look. So I'm going to actually tuck this one rather than sharing the hole at the bottom. Take a look at that, and I'm happy with that. So it's a little bit bigger here at the top, and it goes down a little bit for the nose. And now I can move over and do the head over here. I don't need to tie off anything like that. You can if you want to, but we have plenty of this 433 in our kits, and if you bought a full skein, so you don't have to worry about really holding onto that floss and saving it. So again, I'm going to start at the tip of the head and go down towards the nose. The nice thing about this is the knot is over here. It's no longer going to be in our way on this sheep's head. Come back to the top. Share that hole at the bottom. And we're going to make another stitch, and we're going to hook this one. Now we're going to do the same thing on the right. And don't worry if you get into the body just a little bit, it's all going to get covered up. Okay, I'm going to share this one down here as well. And then I think I'm going to get one more stitch in there and tuck. We'll see. I'm a little torn. I think I'm going to leave it as is. I don't think I'm going to go any bigger because 6 strands is pretty thick. So if I add another 6 strand, I think it's going to end up making the sheep's head just a little too big, and I don't want a big sheep head. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to cut my floss. Some people like to split it up here and tie it off. It's a little too much extra thread there, so I'm going to just cut it with about that much excess, and then I will gently pull apart 3 strands on either side, roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to double knot it. Some people prefer to do a different method when tying off their embroidery floss. I know cross stitchers prefer to have a nicer back of the hoop. They don't want it messy. I am all for the mess because it's all going to get covered up anyways. Now I'm going to cut as close to that knot as I can without cutting too close where it's going to compromise the knot. And then this little piece I can throw away. Now this excess piece that I have, I'm going to save that because tomorrow we're going to come back and work on the sheep's head on the right, and I don't want to pull a whole nother arm length, so I'm going to grab this and I'm just going to wrap it around my skein so I remember what color it is and I can use it again later. Okay, so that's ready for me to use again tomorrow. I'm going to put it aside. Next, I'm going to grab my ecru color. I never know if I'm saying that correctly. I'm going to grab an arm length of this, again, starting at this number side here. Sorry if it's not in focus. Pull an arm length and cut. Tie a knot at the bottom. And then thread your needle. All right, so the next thing we're going to work on are our sheep bodies right here. We're going to work on both of them today, and this is going to be using a French knot. We are going to use one single twist for the outline of our sheep's body. I was about to say our French body, our sheep body, and then on the inside I'm going to use a combination of 2 twists and 1 twist. If you've never done a French knot before, you're like, what are you talking about with these twists? I will explain it in just a second, don't worry. But just so you know, 1 twist for the outside edge, 2 twists, and sometimes 1 twist on the inside of the body. All right, so the best way I found to fill in these sheep's bodies, which is not the only way, if you want to do it a little bit different, you can, is I found it best to kind of fill in these little tufts around the edge of the body before I moved to the inside. So the way I did that was I would bring my needle up kind of in the middle of the tuft, and then when I bring my needle back down, it's going to be closer to the top of that little tuft area. So with that in mind, I'm going to now show you how to do a French knot. So what we're going to do, I'm going to maybe start a little more towards the middle of the body. I'm going to bring my needle up all the way through until that knot hits the back. And then I'm going to hold my floss in my left hand and put my needle underneath, not on top, underneath. And I'm going to twist it around one time. I want to hold this tight enough that my needle is not going anywhere. If I was holding this loose like this, it would just slip right out. So it needs to be tight enough that your needle is not going anywhere. Once you have that one twist, we're going to bring our needle back down. Now this is the situation where we're bringing it back down up here at the top of that tuft. If this is a complicated angle, you can always turn your hoop around so that you're bringing the needle down rather than up. I hope that's not too much information. So holding my floss in my left hand, put my needle under, one twist, bring my needle down at the top of the tuft, and I'm going to continue holding here with my left hand tightly, and I'm going to kind of push my needle down where my knot is also going down closer to the fabric. I'm going to pull that needle through and continue to hold tightly here in the left hand, and eventually I use my finger to hold it for me, and then slip your finger out at the last second and pull it down. And that's the French knot. So let's do it again. Again, I'm coming here kind of in the middle of the tuft, and I'm going to be coming up. Hold that floss in your left hand, put it under the floss, twist one time, continuing to hold tight. Push your needle down at the top. Ooh, got a little twisted there. Down at the top of the tuft. Push it so that the knot itself, the French knot, is up against that fabric. And then we're going to continue to hold tight with our left hand and pull down. Now there will be some gaps in some of these spots. Those are going to get filled in as we do the inside of the body, so don't worry about that. I'm going to do one more here, and then I'm going to speed it up as I do the outside of the body. So hold this in left hand, put the needle under, twist one time, put it needle down at the top of the tuft, pull this floss with my left hand so that the knot pushes down all the way so that it's touching the fabric, and I'm going to pull my needle with my right hand. Continuing to hold it tight in that left hand, using my finger to keep the tension, and then pull it out. All right, so now our sheep is got the outline filled in. It looks like it's had a really bad haircut, and now we need to fill it in. The whole reason I like doing this outside part first is it helps you to not accidentally create too tight of a circle, and then the sheep not actually have a fluffy body. So now let's go in and fill it, and I'm going to fill primarily with 2 twists. What that looks like is coming up, and there's no right or wrong way as how you fill it in. I'm just going to start here and just kind of work either in a circle or up and down. With 2 twists, what you're going to do is put your needle under, twist one, twist twice, and then push it down. This part where you push down does not matter. It only really mattered where you pushed it down over here on the outside. So we've got that first French knot, And again, I'm not worrying too much about some of those gaps on the outside of the body. That is where I might come in with one twist. I'm just going to try and fill in as much as I can with the 2 twists, and then see if there's spots that need to have a 1 twist in it. Like you can already see right here, I'm probably going to have to put 1 twist right there, because if I put 2, it might get too fluffy. But I'm just going to work right now just on the 2 twist. All right, so here I feel like I filled in enough with the 2 twists, and I'm going to fill in a few little spots with just 1 single twist. All right, so now I have made those single twists in some of the spots that needed to be filled in. There's some spots here on the edge that I think maybe could possibly use 1 more twist, but I think I'm going to wait and actually see how the grass fills things in and see if maybe I need to add a few more French knots on the outside edge. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just start on this sheep. Again, I'm not tying off. I will run out of floss and we'll need to pull another arm length and start again. But for now, I'm just going to go right over to this sheep, doing the exact same thing. 1 single twist on the outside edge, and then filling in with 2 twists, and then coming in and filling with 1 single twist. Once you've completed stitching the body of our sheep, you are done for day 1. We will come back tomorrow for day 2, where we will complete stitching the sheep on our right heel. Until then, if you realize you've completely fallen in love with French knots and are itching for a project that is filled with them, try checking out our morning by morning design, which I'll link below. See you tomorrow.